Well, very much so, Naledi. That's going to be a very topical issue here in light of the very devastating floods that we have seen right here in South Africa. But also you look at the Horn of Africa as well, where we've seen also horrendous drought as well, really putting millions of Africans' lives at risk. So it's going to be a very major talking point. Naledi, we saw that the African Union chairperson and the Comoros president, Assoumani, was here yesterday, where he really spoke about the impact of climate change in the continent. But someone who's quite well versed on the subject matter is Mitika. Of course, thank you so much indeed for your time. First and foremost, looking at the impact of climate change in the continent. I mean, this is a major issue in the continent. And today we're gathering here. Are we likely to see the solutions and some tangible outcomes to address it?
Yes, thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure to be here in Midrand, South Africa, at the seat of policy making in the African continent, that is Pan-African Parliament, hosting this very, very important Pan-African Parliamentarians Summit on Climate Policy and Equity. And you have rightly seen it. Yes, we are looking for solutions to the devastating impacts of climate change, which, as you have said, are manifested by, what you have seen in Southern Africa over time, hurricane, Idai, hurricane just recently in Malawi, which has really devastated the villages. Now they are pulling out of it. The Horn of Africa, droughts which have never been seen before. And you see waters, the floods in KwaZulu-Natal, East Coast, and so forth. So, now we don't need a scientist really to tell us that things are changing. And that's why we are gathered here into this really forum to look and reflect. What do we do? What solutions do we have? What are we going to do for adaptation? How do we adapt into our agricultural systems? How do we adapt to our, infrastructure? Because once we build them, they are devastated by floods, and then we go back. So they devastate economies. So that's why we look at climate change not through the limited perspectives of environment and science. It's really a real economic issue. Look at what is happening in South Africa. Actually, the load shedding and those others. This is about energy. Energy is a big issue in addressing climate change. So it affects the economies of countries like in South Africa. We are talking about leaving the coal on the ground and reverting to more sustainable energy system, renewables. So is this what we want to do? This will form part of the conversation during this session.
And how do we try to accelerate? I mean, for example, in South Africa, we talk about a just energy transition funded by some Western countries and so many partners. But how do we try and fast track this process? Because, one of the set realities in Africa is that we're contributing least in terms of the greenhouse gas emissions, but the impact is quite severe in this continent.
Yes. So the point here is that, and I think we just to transition, but as you can see here, we need really dignity in that transition. You are talking about the just transition funded by other countries. Why do we wait for others to come and fund and actually exert and drive their agenda into our just transition? Just transition is not only about energy. The global transition to low carbon, climate resilient development pathways is inevitable. We are past the industrial revolution. Now we are in a green revolution. So for us in South Africa and at Africa is what choices do we have to make? What energy systems do we have to make? Do we have to grow within the same development pathways which those people who have caused this problem of climate change developed, and then now it revisits us on where we are? No. We have a solution and we have the right technologies. The only problem is that we are waiting for somebody else to define the kind of transition we want, and that's where we are going wrong. So I know Minister Chrissy is here. I know that South Africa is really trying to see how they can pull out from this load shedding crisis. we have to define, actually do it well. And if we make the right choice, we are going to bequeath the future generation both the right economic development model, and at the same time, we ensure the future generation and habitable future and the health of the planet. Yes.
All right, so thank you so much indeed for that insight. So, of course, Naledi, is going to be a very heated issue around the issue of energy, around climate change. We do understand that, of course, Environmental Affairs Minister Barbara Chris will be part and parcel of those discussions. But also we do know that when you look at so many climate change summits that have been held in so many parts of the world, there has been a lot of commitments that have been made in terms of making sure that Africa is able to make tremendous progress in this regard.